Hi, Joe Walker here at Def Digits Guitar Lessons in Seattle. Today my student Connor couldn't make it, so I'm making a live video lesson for him. Connor just performed, for the first time with a band, he performed We Are the Champions, doing a bunch of power chords through that tune. That was one of his first power chord songs, which is not one that I usually recommend people learn first for learning power chords. It's a lot of different power chords to keep track of, and a lot of kind of modified power chords that aren't really pure power chords. So what I wanted to give Connor was a song today that would be a quick win after doing something as challenging as We Are the Champions. And it's the power chords for American Idiot by Green Day. That was actually the last song played in the show that he played in on Saturday. So these chords, let me show you the three chords that we're working with, and then I'll show you the rhythm to do them in. So we've got an A flat power chord, A flat or G sharp. Means your root is on the 4th fret of the low E string. So we call that root 6 because that's the 6th string. That's your root down there, and then follow it up with those two notes. That's the root of our song for American Idiot. That's going to be the primary chord that everything's revolving around. We've got A flat, we've got G flat or F sharp, which is root on the 2nd fret. And we have D flat or C sharp, which is root 5 on the 4th fret. And we have to be able to navigate between all of these chords, so you can just take a pair of chords and work on going between them, like A flat and D flat. Make sure your fingers can make that move pretty fluidly. So it shouldn't feel like you're jumping your fingers off and putting them back on. It's more like, see if I can give you a good angle of what my fingers are doing. I'll give you two angles. Here's one. Here's another angle. Oops. So my fingers aren't even really coming off of the strings. They let go of the strings of one chord, and then they just move over. They're just lightly touching the strings as they make that movement. And that's really crucial to making smooth power chord changes, especially when you're going between strings like that. You can't just keep the power chord held down when you're going between frets on one set of strings. You can just keep it held down and just kind of slide it down as you strum the chord. So if we're doing A flat and G flat, going back and forth between those, I'm not even lifting my fingers off. I'm not even relaxing them on those strings. If I'm not strumming those, it sounds like this. My fingers are really just sliding back and forth between those, and that's what you should try to do whenever you have power chords on the same set of strings. If you don't want any space between them, if you don't want a tiny rest between them, like that, or if you don't want that moment of silence between them, you try to synchronize that strum with the moment that you slide so that you can't really hear that there's a slide going on there. Then you get that happening. The other thing we need to be able to move between the G flat and the D flat up here. And that's both challenges rolled into one. You have to move side to side, but you also have to switch strings. So we can look at that and zoom in here like this. And you try to get those to sound really smooth. And here I'm doing the same thing that I showed you before, where I relax my fingers off of one chord and then just move them to the other set of strings without picking them up. It's like I'm just kind of sliding them across the strings without doing that. And that's how I was doing that before. Not even taking my fingers off the strings, just moving from one set of strings to another. Here we have to do that while you're moving 2 frets up or 2 frets down. So again, I never take my fingers off the strings. They never come off even just a millimeter off. They're just moving along the strings like that. And you can hear as I'm doing this, you can hear just a little bit of string noise. If I'm pressing really hard and I'm moving like that, then you start to get that squeaky basketball court sort of sound, of that sound. And here we're not getting that just because you're relaxed on the strings. You're not pressing down and getting that. So from G flat to D flat, I remember back when I was first learning power chords, this was the toughest thing for me to do, was to move diagonally, to go from a root 5 to a root 6 on a different fret, or vice versa. Because moving here at the same fret, you have that little jump to make, but you don't have to go left and right. And then when you're on the same set of strings, you don't have to go up and down, you just move left and right. So guessing at what you're probably going to need is zoom in on those two chords and just spend extra time just trying to make those two chords sound smooth. Now when we go to the actual rhythm of the riff, we're going to go so we start with the A flat chord and we go down up on that, just like that. Then we get a down on muted strings. And you don't have to do this to get muted strings when you're playing power chords, because this finger is already muting everything. All you have to do is relax your fingers, just like you're moving between the chords. And really, this is how these mutes are being used. They're used as transitions between the chords. So we get down, up, down, mute. Sorry, I just did that, but we don't need to do it. Down, up, mute. And that mute is happening as you're moving over to the next chord, and you get an up on D flat. So those four moves should be boom, 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 all in a row. Like that. I'll do it slower here. And as you work on getting those four moves smooth and faster, you want it to sound eventually like. And that mute doesn't really get emphasized when we hear the real song. There are a couple mutes in that riff, but they don't pop out because they're drowned out by the chords. The mutes are quiet and the chords are loud. So we're going to do another upstroke on that D flat, straight into another down mute. And now we're coming up on G flat. So if we take those three strums and try to group them together as one move, we got up on D flat, down on a mute, up on G flat. So you can give that the same kind of treatment as the first group of four. You can try to work just on these three moves: up on D flat, down on mute, up on G flat. And if we put those two groupings together, we get this. This will take some time, take some practice each group by itself, but once you can put them together, we get it's most of the riff already. Next, we're going to go, let's see, what do we do next? So we just had, we're going to go up on G flat, straight to a down on D flat, and then down on A flat, down on G flat. Like that. Up, down, down, down. And that's up on G flat, down on D flat, down on A flat, down on G flat. So we've got, I think that I chopped it up into three groups. Here's your first group. Second group is, last group is, and those three groups together, you get So throughout that riff, we have all of the different examples of moving between those pairs of chords. We had 3 pairs of chords. We had A flat and D flat. And we have to move between those 2, both directions, I think. We have to move between A flat and G flat, and we have to move between G flat and D flat. Oops. Yep, we get all 3 of those pairs in each of them in both directions. So it's a great tiny little riff that's a great study in moving between chords. We have all of the challenges in one tiny little riff. Let's see. I think that's all I have for you on that one. Let me know if you have any questions. Stick it in the comments below. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you next time.